Yeah, let's do this then. I think Palisand might be actually pretty solid. Let's go! This is what we wanted. Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today I'll be covering a full day worth of sets for Holiday Cup, so you get to see all 25 battles. Nothing's filtered out, nothing's cut out, and this team alone was really solid for me. I went positive in every single set. I gained almost 200 elo, and it was all on the backs of a Pokemon that's ranked really far down on the rankings on PvPoke for this meta, and that's Palisand, ranked number 192 in this meta. Kind of wild. I didn't think I could, I didn't think it'd be ranked this low because of how strong it is in this meta. And for a lot of people, Palisand's probably not even on their radar because of how low it's ranked, but it's one of the most reliable counters to Vigoroth, which is all over the place in this meta. Core breaks a lot of other things too, like Vigoroth Lantern comps. So the rest of the team is Wigglytuff with Vigoroth and Palisand, and essentially I have a pretty solid check to Vigoroth in general with this team, but especially with Vigoroth safe swap, I just can really punish opponents with that Palisand and come out with a bunch of energy too. Before we get into the battles, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to all my patrons who've been supporting my content creation. If you'd like private one-on-one coaching, scrims against me, some of my league guides and strategies ahead of time, or even tune into my live stream battles, feel free to sign up through the Patreon link down below. Getting into this first battle, we have a Skeldurge, which is probably one of the hardest matchups for sure for this team. Typically speaking, I just stay in and just try to go for debuffs. Both charge attacks are resisted anyway, so no big deal which one you throw, but Icy Wind just makes your matchup in the back end a little better. Looks like they lagged a little bit. I don't know if it would make a difference because they went for Flamethrower instead of Disarming Voice. But yeah, definitely a little unfortunate for my opponent there. Was able to make something out of that. For Vigoroth safe swaps, Vigoroth's coming in, I'm going to safe swap my own. Try to force them to swap to a third. They don't show it. So because of that, I have my Palisand that I could easily farm this down. Looks like I come in with the Wigglytuff instead. Was able to get a shield off my opponents. Looking back on it, I probably should have came in Palisand instead of the Wigglytuff, even though I had to move, but you know, again, unless they're running Bulldoze, everything is resisted from the Vigoroth, and even Bulldoze is not that big of a deal. Alright, it's going to be a double, and double with payback is definitely going to be a problem. But it's possible they don't have payback. Either way, I'm going to throw these Scorching Sands as soon as possible. Try to get a slight debuff on them so they can survive one payback. Looks like they swap over to Vigoroth and quit out. So maybe they didn't have payback. I don't really know. But either way, another really tough lead. It's going to be Skarmory. No real Skarmory checks on this team. Vigoroth is okay-ish for neutral, but the thing is it's in the lead, so swapping to Vigoroth does put me in a tougher position. They end up throwing the Brave Bird instead of the Sky Attack, and then I come in Palisand. Obviously, the Wigglytuff doesn't have a ton of play into Skarmory. However, the charm damage is still not too bad, and at least I don't have to spend any shields against Vigoroth. They go Body Slam, not sure why, but if you're ever a Vigoroth user, you want to go Rock Slide if you have Rock Slide Body Slam. Rock Slide is single resisted, whereas Body Slam is double resisted. I end up coming in with the Wigglytuff after I hit 100 energy because I'm going to have this matchup versus Skarmory anyway, so I might as well just get it over with and save all my energy on the Palisand. They go for the Brave Bird, which is nice. Allows me to take a little bit less damage from the Skarmory, and they have a Frostlass in the back. Frostlass is actually pretty strong into Palisand, having super effective charge attacks for all its moves against Palisand. However, if I could whittle this down with the charm damage and some Icy Winds, it could be pretty good. So they end up shielding. I go for the Scorching Sand, and they shield. I go for another one, and a really great catch by them on their Vigoroth. However, looking at the energy that the Frostlass have, I don't think they could double up, but they're forced to throw it because they can't Powder Stone me down. One charm will do it. All right, so 2-0 so far. Like I said, I went really positive with this team. Obviously, maybe I make some mistakes, maybe my opponents do as well. I didn't filter anything out. Usually my YouTube videos, I filter out the really bad plays from either myself or the opponents just to make things a little more exciting. but also for educational purposes. If I'm just making 1,000 misplays with a team and there are obvious better ways for me to play it, it's not really helpful for you all to learn how to use a team. So this, you got to see everything in full force. This charge bug is running crunch instead of discharge, so definitely a check to these ghosts ground types and just ground types in general. Looks like they were gonna come in with the superior, and I counter swap back to my Wigglytuff. End up shielding Friend's Plan. Friend's Plan does quite a bit of damage. Bison not as much, and they just quit out right there. Shadow Alolan Ninetales. Unless it's Powder Snow, I usually swap out. Powder Snow is going to be a problem for the Palossand. And then they swap to their double, which is okay into my matchup. I do have I don't have a ton of health left, but I have a bunch of energy on the Vigoroth, so definitely worth shielding in my opinion. And then we get the full countdown, so that's actually really nice. And let's see where they come in with. Ends up being the Alolan Ninetales scan. I'm just going to throw the Bisam. I'm not even going to go for the Rock Slide. It does quite a bit of damage, and most Shadow Alolan Ninetales at that health range will shield. I come back in with Wigglytuff because super effective. Weather Ball is not going to be great. I have no idea what's in the back. Ends up being Vigoroth. I mean, it's Vigoroth Cup this season for Holiday Cup, so kind of easy to kind of predict and play around. And like I said, this team very strong into Vigoroth. Nothing really weak to it. You got a mirror, you got a kind of neutral matchup with Wigglytuff, and you got a hard counter with Palossand. And yeah, this could be a pretty easy matchup overall. Even if they have Bulldoze, not too bad. Again, they're going Body Slam for whatever reason. But if you could throw a move at Palossand, if you have Rock Slide, Body Slam, definitely want to throw the Rock Slide. Going to optimize off of this. Just come in with Wigglytuff. They even get a debuff. Charm goes through. GG's right here. All right, Dusclops. You don't see this super often. Probably another viable check to Vigoroth, but Stay Soft Vigoroth, fantastic for this team. And honestly, a lot of my wins were because of this alone. I throw the Scorching Stance right away. Yes, the counter is resisted. However, if you get a debuff earlier, you're going to take a little bit less damage. So that's why I throw it right away when I have it. You always go for farm down later. And so I get a lot of energy. I have a Shadow Ball ready, so I'm going to throw it. And it goes through, which is fantastic. Don't get to another move, but that's okay. And then they have a Litleo, which is, unfortunately, just hard counter situation. So 5-0 on that first set. Fantastic start with this team. I played a little bit of this team prior to this set a day of battles. I played a little bit during my Patreon stream the day before, but that's about it. So not even too much practice, but a pretty straightforward team in my opinion. All right, and we saw two great core breakers in the lead, right? You saw Skarmory and Skeletor. Skeletor's particularly annoying. All right, and then Noctowl, not a super common lead, but not terrible for this team, especially in the lead. We get the debuff, right? So that's where the debuff comes in handy. Now you see the counter, Body Slam doing absolutely nothing. Again, throwing Body Slam is not ideal, but I can see why if you don't see Palossand very often, maybe that is not on the forefront of people's minds. But yeah, we just charge up as much energy as possible. Now, Noctowl does wall off the entire moveset of the Palossand, so I'm going to swap out because Vigoroth isn't too bad into the Noctowl. And actually, we actually get to another Icy Wind, which is fantastic. Ends up being Lickitung, which is going to be terrible into my Vigoroth, so I'm in a very commanding position. I'm just going to throw this move anyway, just for the debuff chance. And we throw another one as well. Do some chip damage. I mean, it's pretty much over, but I just want to make sure I put the nail in the coffin. They realized it to the moment see the Vigoroth. Vigoroth lead, kind of a weird one, but I swapped straight away to my own because, again, if you can get the Palossand on it, even better. I throw the Body Slam right away, which ends up being a really great catch by my opponent. So maybe something to consider is holding on to energy. I know a lot of people have been going for the catch, so sometimes I try not to throw right away, but this was early on footage, obviously, so didn't really learn my lesson yet, I should say. All right, they have X-Scissor. They might have Crunch, so I'm not going to shield either way. Crunch would be really nice. Ends up being Crunch, so I wall off their charge attacks. And here comes a Whimsicott, which is not good. Yeah, so unfortunately, I don't know if they built the Whimsicott to counter Palossand, but it is a Palossand counter, that's for sure. So we're going to let this go. It does a lot of damage. and they have the back-to-back, so it's not really any point in me shielding. Would have been a worse spot. Honestly speaking, I probably should have just not even thrown that charge attack, so I get a little bit more energy. Instead, the Vigoroth got energy against my Palossand. We do get to Icy Wind, which is nice, but Vigoroth just paces so quickly, and it's fairly bulky, right? Like, the charms aren't doing enough. If this is a dragon type or fighting, be a different story, but yeah, they just get a lot of energy. So we do take, I believe, our first loss of the day, which is, again, not too bad, all things considered. They say swap Charge Bug. Something you always have to worry about is the crunch, but you have a fantastic matchup in that lead situation. This one looks like they're not running crunch, and if they are, they're really going for a 5-head strategy to trick me. But I know it's Survivor Crunch either way, so there's no point. And they end up throwing just X-Scissor, so it looks like they don't have crunch. And I'm going to throw another Scorching Sands. Alignment is pretty nice here, so I'm just going to go straight for the Shadow Ball. Chip this down. Have the Wigglytuff still for the Altaria. It's going to be a pretty good situation right here. It's not really worth shielding, in my opinion. If they really have another dragon in the back, I'll be okay. It's be a Magnet Zone, so kind of a hard counter situation against my opponents. Works out favorably for us, not so well for them. But yeah, it's going to be a quick one for sure. Gligar, pretty strong counter to Vigoroth and Palossand. I mean, Palossand has to throw the Shadow Ball to do anything meaningful. And it just typing is really good into Vigoroth. So I just stay in that matchup. And then they come in with their Lantern. Something I like to do is actually shield. That first surf does a decent amount of damage. And then they get to that second surf before you get to that second Scorching Sands. So, and see, you get the attack drop, right? So that's actually nice because you wouldn't have to shield the second one anyway if you want to maintain alignment. But because I got the attack drop, I take away less damage, which is much better. I go for the Shadow Ball. Does a decent amount of damage. Goes unshielded. Fantastic. Ends up being a Bubble Jellicent, which is a lot harder for both my Wigglytuff and my Vigoroth. So actually maybe a pretty solid choice to go Bubble in this meta. I don't know. I haven't looked too much in Jellicent myself, but it could be pretty decent, especially with the Bubble buff, but also with so many normal types. And yeah, normal types in the meta, it might be the better play. We end up getting the 2 Rock Slide either way, though, which is nice. Puts this Jellicent quite low. At this point, not really anything that they can do against my Wigglytuff. And Wigglytuff is going to be able to finish us off. All right, Abomasnow. Again, a really tough matchup for the Palossand. So we're just going to stay in this matchup and let this go. Ends up being Energy Ball. A lot of damage for sure. But they come in Vigoroth. And like I said, you shut down Vigoroth safe swap really easily. And I still have the Vigoroth for the Abomasnow, so I'm not super worried. But most importantly, I also left with energy on my Wigglytuff, so I can still debuff something or just throw Disarming Voice at it. Rock Slide is going to come through. As you can see, Rock Slide does do a little bit more damage than Bison. And we have the back-to-back Scorching Sands ready. I end up coming in with the Wigglytuff to just kind of debuff and go for the combo play. Ends up being a Lantern, so pretty good because we have energy on the Palossand. Obviously, we have the shield, but at this point, that's fine. Once we take out the Lantern, we have the shield advantage as well. We'll be in a good spot. And going for the charge attack priority as well, you can see trying to maximize the energy and force them to throw when they have the energy. And now I can just let this go. Yeah, so yes, I have energy, but the energy is going to be much more valuable on my Vigoroth. And they're going to concede right there. So 4-1 on the second set. Fantastic. 9-1 so far. Like I said, I went positive every set. I'm not going to spoil exactly how the sets went, but they went well. They definitely went well. Again, didn't really learn my lessons, so I throw the Body Slam right away. Ends up being caught on a Trevenant, which is not ideal because, honestly, this matchup is not terrible with the Rock Slide update to Vigoroth. Bulldoze used to be all resisted. All the charge attacks used to be resisted when you had Bulldoze instead of Rock Slide. But because of the Rock Slide change, you guys just don't play into Trevenant. Unfortunately, not if they catch a Bison like that. And they throw the Surf. I come in with my Palossand, and this is just, unfortunately, not the best of times. Yeah, so this Decidueye, not something I thought I'd see. But, and I kind of really just need to land the Shadow Ball. Unfortunately, not able to. And this is even a more obvious Shadow Ball because I'm shielding on Charge Attack priority. But this game is pretty much over. Yeah, it's not much I could do. Can't get to the last move. And then it's going to do a lot of damage. I'm just going to let it go and probably concede at this point. So we do take another loss, but that's all right. The opponent played well. And Decidueye too. Pretty spicy team. All right. Cofagrigus, fantastic, especially because most of them in this cup are running Dark Pulse instead of Psychic. So you resist everything. You double resist the Shadow Claw, double resist the Shadow Ball, and you resist the single resist the Dark Pulse. Looks like it came in Wigglytuff, and yeah, not the best situation for them for sure. Cofagrigus is not even that great into the Vigoroth because, again, like I said, resisted, fast attacks. I throw this on Charge Attack priority just to get a little bit chip damage because I knew they're going to get to this move anyway. And then they have another Charmer. So, Cofagrigus double Charm strategy in Holiday Cup. Unfortunately, not going to work as well this season. I know Holiday Cup last year, double Charm strategies, double Shadow, Razor Leaf strategies were very strong and rampant. But this season, not going to be the case. It's going to be the Vigoroth show, which inherently actually turns into the Palossand show if you're running Palossand. So, Vigoroth, I'm going to be a little bit more patient, which is why I don't throw any of my body slams right away. Get to another one, which is fantastic. And it's going to do a decent amount of damage. They don't shield that one. Good call by them, knowing that it doesn't knock out. I'm going to come in with my Palossand. I resist everything. Get a little bit energy lead. But because they haven't swapped out yet, I'm a little concerned at what they have in the back. Ends up coming in with a Frostlass. I do have to definitely come in with my Wigglytuff at this point in time. Might go for a full Charm Down. Because they come out with a lot of energy. And if they do have a Fire Tap in the back, like, I want to debuff it or do something with it, right? Wigglytuff, their Vigoroth doesn't have too much play at this point too. So, should be okay. Ends up being a double. This is going to be interesting, especially if they have payback. They try to catch, unfortunately not able to catch, but they do reset their attack and drop. And here comes a payback. I barely survived, but I survived. Palossand hanging on there, super effective payback, and able to finish it off too. So a close one, but Palossand coming in clutch yet again. All right, fantastic lead, Dragon into the Wigglytuff, and again, another Vigoroth safe swap. This thing is just shutting down one of the main strategies in the cup, which is why I think it had so much success, and why I recommend it for anyone watching. All right, we get the attack drop right away. Like I said, you want to throw it whenever you can, just in case you get that early debuff, because then you just come out with a lot more health. And this is not too bad, because we have a bunch of energy for the Arctibax. Arctibax, not very threatening. And again, we go for that strategy, we pivot out, because if they have a counter like, Skarmory in the back, we draw it out. Vigoroth still has a lot of play as well into the team. And then I just come in Palossand, force them to throw their energy, not going to shield anything. Then I have the Vigoroth. We can just count down. We're going to shield once in the countdown. But yeah, this Arctibax is not going to like what they see in the back, and they end up quitting out. Yeah, they had 2 shields, but the counter damage is just a little bit too oppressive for the Arctibax. Water Gun Lantern is not the best for my team. I will say that, especially for the back-end matchup, right? That makes the Palossand matchup much harder. However, I'd rather just still draw whatever I can, like maybe a Dragon or something, with the Vigoroth safe swap, and then, or like a Ghost, and then just finish it off with Wigglytuff after that. So I come in Palossand now because they actually don't have a ton of health. So I could go for aggressive farm down. If I come out with like 100 energy, it's still going to have some play into that Water Gun Lantern. Super effective. Scorching Sand still does a ton of damage. And again, I'm making that play where I'm swapping in the Wigglytuff. Unfortunately, I'm catching a Body Slam, which is not ideal. Probably should have stayed in for that Body Slam on the Palossand and then come in Wigglytuff so I could save some of this health. Would have been a little bit better of a situation in my opinion. Could have saved shields for something else. All right. We end up throwing the Icy Wind. Is going to do a good chunk of damage. Rather shield the first one than the second one. And now I kind of have to save my shields. Otherwise, Water Gun Lantern is going to steamroll me. I thought they were going to swap over. So I go for the combo play, thinking they're going to swap in their Lantern. Unfortunately, not able to make that happen. However, they're going to be permanently debuffed if I get any debuffs here because they don't have anything to swap to. The Water Gun damage, though, is adding up quite quickly. And like I said, not the best matchup for Palossand. Unfortunately, just did not have enough energy to deal with it. And this Lantern actually has a decent amount of health left and a ton of energy. So, not the best for my Wigglytuff, we do get taken out. 3-2 on that set, but again, still positive, not too bad. Obviously, the battles are going to get a lot harder as my elo is going higher and higher. This is from like this past weekend too, so a lot of these players in this elo range are actually quite high on the leaderboard right now. Yeah, some very high level trainers. All right, another Skeldurge lead, and this time they swapped the Vigoroth. So we have a pretty good matchup in this situation. Of course, that Skeldurge is going to be a problem for my backline for sure. But we really have to come into the Vigoroth with the Palisand because all the other matchups are not great, especially down to shield. That being said, we're going to try to come out with as much energy as possible. I might, again, go for that swap in with the Wigglytuff. Well, we go for the aggressive farm down. Actually works out quite well. They have an Obscure in the back, which is not ideal for me. I end up swapping in the Wigglytuff just because I just want to pivot out. Vigoroth has a ton of play into the Obscure, so rather have that lined up eventually if possible. I guess it could have came in Vigoroth as well, but then I'd be showing my third. That being said, we do go for the Scorching Sands. Ends up being shielded, which is a little unfortunate. I really wanted them to let that go, but smart play by my opponent to shield it in case they need the Skeldurge for my third Pokemon, which ends up being this Vigoroth. I want to shield the potential cross chop because it's going to do more damage to Disarming Voice. Ends up being Obstruct, which is unfortunate, really unfortunate. Had I let that go, I win this matchup, but because I shielded it, I don't have the shield for Disarming Voice. My defense is dropped, and yeah, things went to shambles in those last 10 seconds. But really great play by my opponent, and the Obstruct definitely came in handy there. Didn't really expect to see Obstruct Obscune, or Obscune in general. That's my first one, obviously you can see out of my battles. But yeah, kind of an interesting pick in this meta. Might be okay into all those Skeldurge and Ghosts running around, but yeah. Okay, so we come in with the Palisand. I give a switch advantage because I have a lot of play into the Dragonite. I have Shadow Ball. I have almost 2 Shadow Balls, so we could just grab both shields if possible. End up coming in with that Lantern. I am going to shield. It is Water Gun Lantern, so it can be much better into my Palisand. I am just going to go for debuffs. If they don't shield, that's fine. I could Charm down. And looks like that's exactly what I'm going to do. Because this damage is going to do quite a bit to Dragonite, and it pretty much has to throw Superpower. I also get a debuff off, which is huge, because then I grab their final shield. Yeah, this is doing a ton of damage. As you can see, they're forced to throw right away. End up throwing the Superpower. They're debuffed, and then I have the Shadow Ball ready for the Dragonite. So, again, farming down that Vigoroth was super crucial. Opposing Palisand, don't see this super often, but it looks like a lot of the other Palisand I've seen are usually in the lead. Which is a lot better for me because you can see the charm damage doing a ton, but also because my whole backline is kind of weak to this, or I have a mirror matchup, I'm going to just stay in and do a decent amount of damage. They just let it go completely for whatever reason. And then now they have a Skarmory. I go straight for the rock side. I don't know if this is the best play. Maybe I should go for the bait because they end up shielding, and then they have a Manabuzz in the back. So I'm feeling pretty good at this point, right? However, something I neglected to remember is that the Skarmory actually has a decent amount of energy because they didn't throw a single charge attack at my Vigoroth. Bad timing on my end, but I just want to get the rock side off. Might have lost count a little bit on their their energy. Then I'm going Aerial Ace. Not really sure why. I mean, they have Foul Play too, so I guess Aerial Ace is a little bit less energy now. So, sorry, my screen recording actually crashed for that, or not screen recording, my video recording crashed for that one. Yeah, so I ended up losing that matchup anyway. Well, okay, let me rephrase it. My screen recording for that battle crashed, but also my camera footage also crashed while voicing it over. So, I guess coincidentally, they both crashed at the same time. But I ended up losing that matchup against Skarmory. It just swept both of my remaining Pokemon. We're going to this Dunsparce matchup, though. It is not terrible for Wigglytuff, but because you have better counters to the back with Vigoroth and Palisand, might as well swap over there. And like I said, much better matchup into Trevenant with the Vigoroth these days. I'm going to shield for switch advantage, which turns out to be very ideal because they have a Sableye in the back, and that's going to do a ton of work into my Palisand. And I forced them to throw. Yeah, they can't really Shadow Call me all the way down. Fantastic. And then we have the Palisand, which is going to be decent into the Dunsparce. Dunsparce has a slight entry lead, but we resist all the rollouts, non-stab, drill run, is not the best against Palossand, whereas we have Stab, Scorching Sands. So going to try to fish for some of these debuffs. Unfortunately, not able to get it to happen. But I still have the Wigglytuff with a decent amount of health left, and so we're going to try to go and charm this all the way down. It really depends on if they have any moves on the Sableye. Unfortunately, it looks like not able to get that off. I think they may have been one Shadow Claw off from like I don't know. They had to kind of throw a return, otherwise it doesn't really matter. Another Palossand lead, fantastic for me because again the backline does not want to see this Palossand, and we go straight for the Icy Wind. It looks like a lot of Palossand just let this go, but this one is going to shield. And they're going to swap out to the Skarmory. This is a little bit dicey of a situation. They go straight for the Sky Attack, though. So we get to 2 Rock Slides, which is good for me. And then it gets the first one, gets the second one. I think I still have a shield remaining. Yeah, and a Charge Attack priority, which is huge. So, I come in with the Palossand because... ooh, that was very unfortunate charge attack timing. Charge attack priority. Oh no, okay, ends up not being the case. But I want to have a lot of energy for that potential Palossand they have in the back. Ends up being a Mana Buzz. So this is actually the same team we saw earlier. Palossand, Skarmory, Mana Buzz. Actually the same exact team we saw in two of the same teams in the same set, which is kind of wild. But this time around, things are looking a lot better. Obviously, the opponent's playing it a little bit differently as well. I think them shielding their Palossand right off the bat definitely came in handy. And then getting that Vigoroth aligned with it was pretty nice. So, get a little redemption on the rematch of one of our losses. Again, another 3-2, still positive. Like I said, the team was cooking. All right, we have a Lantern in the lead. Again, you want to try to get the Palossand on it, so and draw any ghost types. We draw the Trevenant, fantastic, exactly what we're looking for. I'm a little worried, like a Decidueye or some other ghost in the back at this point in time. I go for the bait with the Body Slam. However, the opponent farms up pretty much to double C-Bomb at this point, so it's not really worth going for the Rock side because I just get outpaced. Unless they double shield, but then they can always shield and maintain alignment. So we're just going to concede that specific matchup in switch advantage and hope that we could core break them in the back. Lantern comes in. Of course, we got a shield. Even if this was the final matchup, you still want to shield that, but we don't even know what they have in the back. I'm going to throw the Scorching Sands. I don't think it was on Charge Attack priority. Yeah, it wasn't. But I think I just want to throw it sooner than later just to catch them off guard, force them to spend their final shield. Now I'm going to go for Charge Attack priority. It looks like they swap in the Vigoroth. So, core breaking at its finest, beating the Vigoroth and the Lantern core, which is very, very nice. I'm going to charge up to 100 energy before I throw. I do go for the Rock Slide, but we have the Scorching Sands. I'm going to win Charge Attack priority against the Lantern, so really going to be good for me. And then, yeah, I can even swap with the Wigglytuff to catch a move or just do some damage. So yeah, core breaking the Lantern Vigoroth core is definitely really nice. I don't know why this piece of hair keeps sticking out on my hat. Not really sure what's going on there. But either way, we have another Dunsparce lead. We're going to swap right over. I'm a little bit more patient this time around with my charge attacks. Although this time I do throw on charge attack priority. And I believe I should be able to win switch here. Yeah, we do, which is fantastic. They have the Palossand. Or, sorry, they have the Dunsparce. I have my Palossand. They come in Talonflame. Now, Talonflame is definitely a pain for my team. I'm going to shield the first Flame Charge. Go for the bait. However, even though I land the bait, the Shadow Ball is not enough to one-shot. So, Talonflame is a little bit more troublesome compared to the other fire types because it's just a lot bulkier than Charizard, than Skeldurge. We do get the full Charm down, though. That's actually really, really nice. Yeah. I don't know if I get outpaced here or not. What I should have done here is thrown Disarming Voice because my win condition is Charm down. I don't get to another charge attack. Instead, it just ended up being Drill Run. I guess it might have worked out. I don't know. I think Disarming Voice probably was the better decision, but maybe I don't survive that Drill Run, the ensuing rollout damage. So maybe a misplay by me, maybe not a misplay. I don't know. Hard to say. Whimsicott is in the lead. Whimsicott is actually very strong into that backline, resisting a lot of the damage from the Palossand and the Vigoroth. So it's fantastic to see this in the lead. Sets me up really well, nicely in the back end. I'm expecting to pivot out, and ends up being the Lantern. I'm going to farm up to a Icy Wind / Disarming Voice before swapping out. They come in, it's going to be Runerigus. Now, Runerigus, you might be thinking, why not Runerigus over Palisand? It's mainly because of the charge attacks and fast attacks you have on Runerigus. Shadow Claw, double resisted by the Vigoroth, so not the best counter, right? Like, you can see, it's actually not doing that well into my Vigoroth. It's not the same. And then you got, like, Sand Tomb, which is pretty bad. I think that's why they threw Shadow Ball, because honestly, it's probably doing more damage. And then Palisand just has the neutral Mud Shot and Scorching Sands, and just, I think, better into Lantern as well. So, we're going to save a shield for the potential Shadow Ball. Go farm up as much energy as possible before I throw a charge attack. And then, here comes the Runerigus. But, Palisand coming out on top for the Ghost ground types. Another option might be Golurk, but, again, me personally, I think it's better to run the Palisand. Just pacing is much faster. Golurk's just super slow with the Mud Slap and just a lot more frail. Alright, shocked that my opponent did not shield the potential Rock Slide, especially on a Shadow Skarmory of all things. But, yeah, good call by them. Go for the Rock Slide at this point in time. It's going to do a decent chunk of damage to the Altaria. I get to another one, which is pretty big. My guess is they probably shield at this point in time, and they do. I probably could have swapped over to my Wigglytuff. Instead, I got greedy, tried to go for the Body Slam. Ends up not happening. Wigglytuff comes in, and we get hit by 2 Sky Attacks, which is actually a lot of damage, actually, even against Wigglytuff. I come in with the Palisand. They have a Shadow Dragon in the back, so not looking good for me. Mainly because I need... Okay, so I get the Final Shield, though, which is not too bad. I actually get to 2 Shadow Balls. I did not expect this, and managed to beat the Shadow Dragonite. However, it doesn't really pay off too well for me, because that super effective Steel Wing is going to do a lot of damage. Maybe if I went for a Rock Slide and went unshielded, things would be different. But I think that overall, that's a really hard composition for this team for sure. Palisand in the lead again. Pretty good for me. And we are going to get to another Icy Wind. They catch that? Yeah, I think they caught that. I think maybe they caught that on the Lantern. I don't know. I can't remember if I threw that intentionally or not. I might have thrown that intentionally, actually. Mainly because I just don't want my... Yeah, I don't want my Vigoroth to lose that matchup. I want to maintain alignment. We get to a Rock Slide, which is nice. This actually threatens a Palisand. Actually, almost takes it out. Not quite. But I'm pretty content with what I've done at this point in time. So I'm going to come in with the Wigglytuff. They have another Charge Attack ready, though, which is a little unfortunate. Ends up being the Altaria, though. And Altaria just can't do nothing into this Wigglytuff. The Dragon Breath is just not enough damage, and with the increased energy to Sky Attack this season, just a little too slow to pace. So we go another 4-1 to end the day. You can see climbing all the way to Veteran at this point in time too. So again, the team is super solid. Highly recommend it if you have a chance to play some Holiday Cup Great League. I think it's really, really strong, and Palisand, just a complete hidden gem in this meta. I hope you like the battles. I hope you like the entire day's worth of battles. If you like to see a lot of battles, and that was a lot for you to comb through and kind of figure out different strategies with this team. But otherwise, hope you liked the video. Happy holidays to you all, and if you like this video, feel free to give it a like and share, subscribe for future content, hit that notification bell to get alerted right when I post a new video, and I'll catch you all next time.